Hello, and welcome to the Next Great Car Era, a podcast by EVTUNERS. I'm your host, Daniel Martin, and today I'm joined by Matt Henrichsen, the owner of a highly modified Tesla Model 3 dubbed Heavyn Unleashed. Matt's Tesla journey started after a sandstorm damaged his paint, and he fixed the car with a wrap inspired by the Chargers football team, his favorite team. Many modifications and several iterations later, Matt's car is instantly recognizable on the street or the many events he attends, and he has achieved attending SEMA as an invited car. We sit down and talk all about his upgrade path, the EV community, attending SEMA, and some of the less talked about safety benefits of driving a Tesla, and what Matt sees in the future of the EV space. Hear all that and more right now. Enjoy. On my side, I'm excited to talk some electric car stuff here.
All right, let's do it.
Before we dive too deep into it, maybe a little intro and a little background about yourself to folks who haven't met you yet.
For anybody who doesn't know, my name is Matt. Background is I've been in love with Tesla since about 2008. I currently drive a 2019 standard range Model 3 base model with the base autopilot, and have done quite a few modifications to it over the last year and a half, 2 years, thanks to a shop by the name of Unleashed Motorsports in Fresno. It's come quite a long way. But yeah, excited about Tesla and everything it does. I mean, mainly was me because of my commute, the safe driving part aspect of it.
I'd love to talk a little bit about that. We'll get into the build a little bit too, but the autopilot. So I have a Tesla also. I didn't get the autopilot, and I haven't done it yet. Or I guess what autopilot comes standard, but then there's like the full self-driving.
Full self-driving. Well, now they have also the other one where it's like advanced driving, where basically you get all the features for full self-driving, and then you kind of dumb down the features a little bit for a little bit less money, and you don't get like the full drive itself through stop signs, stop lights, turn by itself, but you do get the summon, and you get the parking. So there are two options for people now, but no, I didn't pay for any of those. I just have the autopilot that comes with the car.
Okay, that's the one I have, and it's plenty, in my opinion.
More than plenty for me.
I use the heck out of it. It makes road trips way nicer, and sweet. All right, now we're on the same page. I'm caught up. You've done a couple iterations of your car, and it's called Heavyn Unleashed, right? And even I think I would maybe met you. It was one of the first iterations, and it was like I saw you at a supercharger. I'm like, oh, I know you, like very notorious. So in a good way. Can you tell us a little bit about that build and how you like got started from going from, hey, I just got a Tesla to, I think I'm going to make it look super awesome and really get into the modification of this. How'd that happen?
So for anyone that doesn't know me, I'm a ridiculous nutcase for the Chargers football team in Los Angeles, formerly known as the San Diego Chargers, as most would like to point out. But I've been a pretty big fan of theirs since the early 90s, and it turned into something a little bit ridiculous for a while in the last few years, and I became the president of my own fan club, which is actually worldwide.
Wow.
So got an opportunity to grab some season tickets at the new SoFi Stadium, and did that, and went to quite a few games. One game in particular I wasn't really necessarily slated to go to, but won some tickets from a Chargers podcast. I ended up going there. And the car is what the saving grace is to be able to do that to begin with, because I can autopilot to and from LA pretty easily. It's not too hard on me. And the brakes are nice when I charge, you know?
Yep.
So on the way home, I was driving through Mojave, the back road from my father's house, to get home, and I basically drove through Mother Nature's sandblaster.
Oh,
Yeah, so a dust storm hit at like 65-mile-an-hour gusts. It was brutal. Like it literally felt like because I used to do pool cleaning and we've done sandblasting to pools, and I've been shot with one. So it literally, I could feel it as I'm driving. Like I could feel my car. Like, oh my gosh, I know what you're going through right now, and
oh
this is not going
no.
to be pretty. So yeah, it hurt it pretty bad. To the tune of, according to an authorized Tesla auto body shop, $26,000 in damage. And that wasn't going to happen. Insurance company totaled it and said, no, we're not paying this without giving me another opportunity. And I fought for another opportunity. And luckily, I had a really good adjuster who was like, yeah, you're right. You do deserve to at least to get an opportunity. So someone by the name of Kevin, who you may know as Quack Media Productions. And I've been pretty close because I really love his car from a long time, you know.
Yeah.
And he referred me to Unleashed Motorsports, who was like, you know, I have an adjuster. We'll take a look at it. I don't know what can happen. You know, we'll do our best. But yeah, I'll give you another opportunity, you know, at least to get it looked at and see if there's another way. And so, yeah, we fixed it. We got the approval. We paint corrected it, corrected all the paint. And then to the most of the damage to the chrome and stuff, we just chrome deleted it,
Okay.
you know, things like that. And the wrap was kind of like that extra step to protect the paint after
Mm.
what had happened, because I do drive so much. But yeah, I didn't anticipate when I drove up to pick up my car that he would have done a full, you know, revamp of my car and make it look so beautiful, you know. And because I'm a huge Charger fan, that's where the powder blue comes from. The gloss light blue color
Okay.
is a color that I'm very fond of as a colorblind person. Blue's always just been that color that if it's bright enough that I know it's blue. So I was like, well, what's the brightest blue I could get? And that was what I chose.
Charger blue.
Charger blue, yep.
Nice.
And that there's from there, it was just pretty easy to just keep going with the same theme. You know, I collect a ton of Tesla stuff, but on the side of that, I collect an awful lot of Charger stuff. So that kind of memorabilia and drawings and clip arts that I use, like my frunk design. You know, my club is a trademarked fan club. I mean, so that image comes to me because, you know, they allow me to use it because I represent the diehard Bolt Club for that reason. You know, it means a lot to me to tie both sides of my personality into my car.
That's really interesting. I mean, we've talked about this a little bit, but I had no idea that it went that deep, right? That
Yeah.
there's uh the logos and trademarked images from that group that you're the president of, which you're super humble, man. You didn't never mentioned that.
Yeah. No, well, I'm a president of one chapter. We're talking about a club that's actually worldwide. So I'm in the
Still,
chapter in where I live, which is actually, funny thing, the same town as the owner of the Chargers lives. So it kind of just works.
you guys hang out?
No, heck no. Are you kidding me?
Maybe after this podcast, he'll be like,
No.
I got to hang out with Matt, check out his car.
No, I mean, I've seen him as golf tournaments and things of that sort, but no, never like that yet. I've met
Cool.
a lot of Charger players in my days, though.
Oh, I bet. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really cool. How
So
often
yeah,
do
the
you go to
Tesla was
games now?
born.
Sorry, I'm how often do you go to games now? Still like all the time?
No, well, this year was probably gonna be dumbed down a lot,
Okay.
since my back surgery and things that in my own personal thing that, you know, I probably won't be going to many of those games last year or this year.
Okay.
That kind of stuff is toned down. So, you know, but hopefully, if all things go well, I'm going to go to a couple games. We'll see.
Yeah. I think that'd be great. But that's how we got to the car. And there's a ton of details to that first build. I mean, everything from like you had some custom stuff in the frunk, you had the wrap, right? Some custom rims that you had on there, other
Yeah.
details, right?
Yeah, so the first one I had ADV1 Flow Spec 5.0 wheels. They were 20 by 9.5 in the front, and I think 20 by 10 in the rear. Really nice wheels. But I absolutely love the wheels. But in the beginning of this whole process, the black diamond wheels that are on my car now are just, it's a wheel that I just fell absolutely in love with. Really light. good quality wheels. So, but in the first build, yeah, a lot of that was tied in from, my son with the whole Pokemon and, everything that I've done with my son over the years. I'm a pretty big kid, Legos, things like that. So, I just like to have fun. It's important. I feel like, if you're not doing it with your personality, then what's the point?
Nice. We got a guest. What's the kitty's name?
We have a special guest here.
Hi. Yeah. Looks like a Siamese.
Yeah, she is. So yeah, it was important to me to bring that, just because, what else are you doing it for? Like, I don't just go show a car just to go show a car. It should have a theme. It should mean something. So maybe that's not always the greatest part for some things, because, most themes are superheroes or movies or, just crazy antics, and I'm using a team that, is considered, let's be honest, a very small fan base compared to some of the bigger teams. So, it plays a role of, how many people are really going to like this car because of that reason. So when at Holly High Voltage, actually, funny story, which, we know very well, that's actually where everything changed. That's where SEMA was actually, the actual idea of SEMA was birthed at that event.
Tell me that story.
That's why the change happened.
The next build, the iteration, the evolution.
Heavyn 2.0 evolved, yeah. Because, originally, at the beginning of this, the dream was just to own a Tesla, man.
Yeah.
It really was. It was just to own a Tesla, because I've been in a lot of car accidents. I'm not the greatest driver, but, most of the accidents weren't things, always my fault. But, my body's taken a toll. I've done physical hard labor for some of the finest, hardest working companies you could think of. And at the end of all that, it's like, what am I going to do, when this body gives up, So the Tesla was something I knew from a very long time ago, that they paid very high standards in terms of quality of the build of the car.
Safest car on the road.
Fit and finish. I don't care about that stuff, to be honest. Since I was 13 years old, I've watched my dad and my older brother tear cars apart after buying them from a dealership. So the fit and finish issues that people would say, it wasn't really something that I was concerned with.
Interesting.
But I didn't necessarily ever imagine that this car would be what it is today. I'll be honest with you. When I first bought this car in 2021, it was 2 years used with 11,000 miles on it. I was just proud and blessed and over the moon to even be driving this car with my name on it. And still to this day would still be driving it that way. But I wasn't for sure going to let cosmetic minor thing like that ruin my dream that took 13 years to buy.
Absolutely not.
It just wasn't going to happen. I wasn't going to go down just like that, So yeah, this transpired into something I would have never imagined. If you told my 2-year ago self, no way.
So paint the picture for me, man. You're at Holly High Voltage, and this was last year, right? So in Sonoma racetrack, and you were showing the car as with a bunch of other folks who had driven up or down to meet there at this event.
Yeah, so funny thing is, originally when I went, I didn't know it was a 2-day show. It was kind of like a last minute thing. I was kind of like, yeah, I'll go. It's an EV event. I'm very interested, and it's always been a dream of mine as a kid. I grew up on the quarter-mile drag strips of Pomona and Palmdale, and just anywhere where you could drag in the 90s. It was just we were going to race, So
yeah.
I grew up around that, and I was like, just to be able to step foot on the Sonoma grounds, yeah, of course I'll go. So we got there, me and my friend Mike, who as El Diablo 65, who I also do a lot of side, installations and things for the Tesla owners and stuff in our area. He was like, hey, it's 2 days, dude. We gotta stay. Tomorrow's like judging. And I'm like, I didn't come here to be judged. I just came to see all these cars. No way I'm staying another day. I gotta do that. I gotta prove that with the wifey. So funny thing is, we ended up staying, and it was day 2 that he approached me, and I thought he was just full of it. It really was. I was like, yeah, okay, sure, buddy. Since I was 13 years old, my brother was building mini trucks in the 90s, and it was always some. I had a friend of mine who I knew since third grade. His name is Ernie Macias, and he passed away recently, and he was a big influence for me because at a very young age he saw this and was like, oh my gosh, and he went all the way, just his whole life dedicated to something like that, and that's just showed me that passion is not just passion. It's there's a lot of heart, there's a lot of hard work, and there's a lot of compromise, especially when you have a family and you have kids. This stuff takes up a lot of time. And my brother and with Ernie and a couple other friends that I knew, we did our thing in the garages, and the mini truck scene was a big influence on me. So me and this guy just started chatting about it, about mini trucks, because he was asking about some of the things that were in my frunk at the time, because at that time I did not have a what the frunk, which today as an entertainment center with an iPad. Yeah, I didn't have that. I just had a bunch of toys, and it looked like a giant Pokeball parked in the middle of Sonoma Raceway. I was just like, just having fun.
Sure.
And he was just like, we talked for a while, and it was just very organic. And I had no idea, that he would just be like, well, have you ever heard of SEMA? And I was kind of like, yeah, of course. Of course, man. That's like creme de la creme, right?
Yeah.
As a kid, that's what you shoot for, like just to be able to go there, on a weekend in Vegas. So he was like, well, I'd be honored if you joined me, with your car for this year. They're going to allow electric cars, and I'm here to, find some cars. But, more than that, I like, your energy, and, you're very knowledgeable when it comes to some of this stuff that a lot of people have fear of about electric cars. My background is hot rods, muscle cars, the smell of gasoline on a Sunday morning at a raceway, so believe me, I know the stories. But one drive in a Tesla and you realize, wait a minute, this isn't just a car. This is not just a car. So, he was like, I'd be honored, you and the one next to you, I said, oh, my buddy Mike. He said, yeah, both of you, I'd like you both to join me. And I was like, all right. And he handed me a business card, and like 2 weeks later, Mike was just giving me a bunch of stuff. Like, yeah, right, bro. He's like, people just don't get invited to SEMA like that, especially from someone that, like that. And yeah, sure enough, like 2-3 weeks later, an email came, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is real.
Wow.
I better get going. This is like bucket list stuff that you dream of, right? So I was like, I have a lot to do. I'm not going to with this car. This car's terrible. I grew up in one builds from the frame up with full welded framing, weekend long, your hands, cutting your hands up, and, just watching people build with every ounce of their life for SEMA. There was no way I wasn't going to go and at least do my best to do something drastic. So yeah, that's when I approached, Joe about going to SEMA at Unleashed Motorsports. He was like, hold on a second, I might have something. And I was just like, this might be too crazy. I don't know about this. And he was like, let's do it. So the Chrome was born.
Chrome silver.
It's actually a Tech Wraps blue Chrome. They have a few iterations of Chrome now, and I see a lot more people doing it. But my car drives 200 miles a day. It's a daily driven car. And when I say daily driven, probably beyond most people's mileage. A normal person doesn't drive 200 miles a day.
No.
Well, I do in a standard range Tesla, and somehow, some way, I got it in my head that I was going to try to put a chrome wrap on it, and we did it. Changed the wheels, lowered it on some lowering springs, and I just went crazy with the frunk. And for Tesla Takeover, it's a once-a-year event, and that was last July, which was pretty soon after Holly High Voltage. And me and my buddy Tony Pham with Quick Bandit, who makes one of the best front license plates that do not mess your car up for any show car owner out there. The Quick Bandit is like a lifesaver, especially for me in California and going through the HOV lanes to get to and from work every day. I have to have a front license plate on my car. But a car show, you do not want a front license plate on your car. It just doesn't look good. So it's me and him got to talking, and there were a couple other what the frunks out there, and I was a big fan of his and everything. He just does it all himself, him and his wife, and just a great soul of a guy, dude. Just a great human to hang out with. And I was like, well, man, what do I got to do to get on this list? This list of just revolutionary people that have this in their front. I mean, we're talking Teslas like the likes of Tesla Chew, Switch Tesla, understated TMS. And these cars all have iterations of a what the frunk, and they were just mind blowing to me. Like someone just put this there, and it's something to give us something when we open the hood and not be like, oh look, there's a hole there.
Right.
That's where air suspension came from. Oh look, there's no longer an air there. I mean, there's no longer a hole there. There's this crazy theme of a setup with air tanks, compressors, and blah blah blah. And then I said to myself, but yeah, I use my front like daily, like every day. When I'm not at a car show or something, I use my front. So it was like, I can't put my air suspension in my front. It's not feasible for me, especially if I'm a daily driven Tesla. How many times do I have to go to service? That's $500 every time you need them to remove that for you. And then on top of that, I just didn't want to go through that. So I approached Tony with this, and he looked at me and he was like, he says, you know what? I really didn't think about doing any of these anymore, but you have one heck of an idea on your hands. Like, this could be pretty cool. And I was like, well, what if we just instead of having to do all this engraving and crazy stuff on the inside of the middle, let me just throw an iPad in there and I'll hook it up to my hotspot, and we'll just run like a full karaoke booth in my trunk. In my front. And that's okay. Now you have me. Okay, let's do this. So he did all the work for most of it. All I really did was paint and spend nights learning from him and growing with him. And I did the painting of the frunk, and I did some of the, extra wiring after that I had to do because, some issues from my end. But overall, the frunk was born. And at Tesla Takeover, I unveiled it, and it was quite the impression on people, because there were other cars there that had the iterations of the what the frunk, but not to this extent.
Yeah.
I was having to turn my what the frunk down for the PA for the main, stage because I was pretty close to it. And this is kind of rude. I didn't realize how much this travels when it gets out in open space. It can get loud. So, so that's where the sub trunk idea came from with me, because there's a big giant hole in the back of my car, under my trunk. I use my trunk every day. It's full with daily life stuff, and there was no way I could do anything to ruin that. So I said, what could I give up for air suspension? And the sub trunk idea came to my head, where I said, oh, this could work. So I hit up Tony again. He was like, all right, let's do some LED work over there. And we created a sub trunk cover that's made out of plexiglass, and it's basically a what the frunk, but a what the trunk. So that will be so that you can see my air display when I pop my trunk. So then I still have that show display, but I'm still, when I leave that show, I can go right back to go, right? My car goes from show to go in a heartbeat.
Right. Just to push of the button.
To the grind every week, going to work or doing whatever I have to do to, physical therapy, whatever, daily life, and it transforms quite easily for that reason.
So Heavyn 2.0 has the upgraded frunk. Now you also have air suspension in
no air yet.
No air yet.
No, that was going to be for SEMA, but we ended up not having air suspension for SEMA.
Oh, okay.
And we now have a little thing we're working on now, where I went a little more in depth on the system, a little more attention to just throwing air suspension in my car.
Okay.
So it's been a few setbacks, logistically on things, financially on things, things like that. So I started doing more and more in my brain and coming up with more and more ideas. So for more than likely Tesla Takeover, I will be releasing the 3.0.
Oh man, there's so many iterations.
Yeah, so I don't know if we would call them iterations. I just think there's just little things that you start to realize, like air suspension, especially if you're using universal air struts. Air suspension is a better ride quality, and I could use that.
Sure.
For my back, my overall daily driving, I trust the struts, that I know that, they're going to take care of me on the road. So Yeah, so basically those will be something that we'll look into, and we'll do something with that, and then we're gonna unveil a couple new wraps here probably, and after that.
Um, how many miles do you have on it now?
Oh my gosh. My wife
Roughly.
asked me this question and I never looked to answer it because it's probably close to 80. I don't know.
Dang,
Uh
that's awesome.
it's almost 73,000.
73.
I
I
got
mean,
it at 11.5 2 years ago, yeah.
that's a 2 years ago. You're right. Daily
Yeah.
driving it.
Yeah, it's 60,000 miles in 2 years basically.
um, like any other maintenance that you've had to do?
Zero.
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 No suspension work, no.
Nothing except the high voltage battery did get replaced. And that more or less probably was due to maybe supercharging too much. I live in an apartment, so I supercharge pretty much daily. And I think maybe that was a test for the battery. I don't know. Obviously, you're not going to get those details out of Tesla service, but man, my Tesla service center was so generous, so kind, and they were so informative. They, basically told me, yeah, your code, we checked, says your battery's fine, but it's obviously not. So we're just going to go ahead and replace it. No
Sweet.
questions asked after that. I mean, I had things in my car, that people say, oh, you can't have that. They're not going to fix this. But really, at the end of the day, it really wasn't anything that was causing the high voltage battery to be having that issue. And they actually went ahead and did the 12-volt battery as well.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah,
The
so I got
lithium.
both batteries replaced, and that was pretty cool of them. And no, since then, mileage is better a little bit. Uh, Charging seems to be a lot more stable, a lot faster than it used to be. So yeah, I have absolutely zero regret in my purchase of a Tesla. And anybody who thinks otherwise or says otherwise, they just haven't driven one or even tried one for a long period of time. I'd recommend finding you a Hertz that has one and test it out for a week, because I'm pretty sure you would never want to drive another car.
Have some fun.
It's not even about the fun. It's like the ease of driving.
Mm.
There really is an ease about it. Like I get in and I just feel like even when I'm not on autopilot, the car just kind of just, I don't know. It's weird. It's hard to explain. It's like an extension to you, and it just rides really smooth. Obviously when you lower it and you put bigger wheels, not so smooth, but
Worth it. Worth it.
oh yeah, definitely.
So let's go back in time just a little bit. We almost started talking about version 3.0, but between then and now, you did actually go to SEMA, right?
Yes.
How was that? What was that like?
That was a lifetime achievement for me, because I've been to Vegas a lot as a kid. I grew up in Southern California, so I spent many weekends just saying, "Hey, let's drive to Vegas." Okay, so you always knew about events like that. It was that once a year thing. The mini truckers would build these trucks for an entire year just to try to make it there. You had a few friends that owned garages or whatever, and yeah, hey, they went, and then sometimes you'd get to go with them, and that just wasn't the case for me. I had never even stepped foot on the grounds, never even went to SEMA for like the free outdoor side of things when you can just walk in there, and walk around outside. So when this came about, the whole leading up to it, just there is that weird stress level, even though I knew I was done, but there was this weird like stress level of SEMA, like I
Right.
guess they call it the SEMA crunch or whatever, but
Yeah.
it just kind of got over you, and it had its toll on me and my buddy Mike. And the drive there was, pretty effortless. It was easy, no issues. And then we pulled in for the first morning, and that's when it all kind of just hit me like, we're not just pulling into SEMA and parking outside, or you know what I mean? Like, we're being escorted into this building behind this curtain on this like playground of like area where it's just these cars. And I was just like, all of it just kind of poured over me, the whole drive there. I was just it's very emotional to know that your car, not just yourself, but your car is going to be accepted inside these doors. Like, because if you've been, it there's cars there, when I say are priceless, there's cars there that are genuinely priceless. I mean, millions of dollars and out labor hours that have gone into building these things, and here I am with a Tesla with a wrap, some wheels, and it was just like, I was just amazed. I was over the moon, and it meant everything. It was something, where friends of mine from when I was a child were like, I can't believe you're at SEMA. Of all of us, you did it first. And I was just like, it wasn't about that. Like, I took all those memories with me inside those walls, like, it was just like, man, you dream of something like this when you're a kid, to be able to go to an event like that.
Yeah.
And to be able to wear that badge around your neck and walk around and see all these other amazing vehicles. It was really hard for me to stay by my car, just because, there was so much I wanted to try to take in that week. Bring your walking shoes.
Yes, you're gonna get your steps, right?
Bring your Advil, Tylenol, Bayer, whatever that part is that you need. But yeah, bring your pedometers, your Apple Watches, and bring your New Balance shoes or whatever. But yeah, it's a massive event. It's endless.
You were like in one area that was specific to EVs, right?
Correct. It's called SEMA Electrified.
Electrified.
Yeah. So the event, it was the first year of them doing it.
Okay.
So everything was really new. There were a lot of familiar faces from Holly High Voltage. The Ford Galaxy was there,
Okay.
the converted Ford Galaxy. There's a old pickup truck that was converted. There's, some Mustang Mach-E. There was, lots of Teslas. There was a really nice Mustang that was converted. There's a couple other like electric race cars that were like award winners or speed breakers, record breakers, things like that. And there was even some stock ones straight from the dealership sitting there, and there was a lot of people talking about just the electric motor, the battery, the technology, and what's to come, and it was quite impressive to watch. Especially next to us, they were actually doing a thing about a school where they go around and they go to places and teach people about the electric conversion and the electric car and how to build it. And they got a pretty crazy build coming that's basically from the frame up build, and it's an EV conversion. It was quite cool to see. Some other friends from TSK Club who do a lot of conversions and body repairs in Southern California, they were there with us. So we knew a lot of people. And then the entire, almost what felt like the entire Ruined Club, who basically have, some of your cream of the crop builds of EVs. When you're talking Teslas and you're trying to look at what you could do to your car, you turn to guys like that, girls like that, that are doing it and doing it at a level that's just crazy. Like Casper. I mean, that thing is like, I think at this point, probably 90% DIY whole car.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just insane. He's an absolute, just, amazing person to watch do what he does, because it just makes you want to push that harder. That it's limitless what you can do to these cars, and people like him and, others out there, that are doing these things. It's just mind blowing that, a car that was once like, oh, you have a Tesla? Oh, you can't touch that thing. It's going to be like a iPhone. You're going to break it by trying to jailbreak it, and it's just like, it's just unplugging a wire and plugging another wire to it. It's not going to do anything. Like I don't know, man. People call it the 90s Honda Civic. And I'm not going to lie and say that there's not a lot of parts out there now, but there is. And it's because of people like him and, all our older like Tesla Chew and people that have been doing these cars for long periods of time, in that realm of like Ruined, and, some of the other guys like Kevin Kwok, who's been building his Tesla for a long time. Ollie Switch Tesla, who runs his own cleaning company as well for car cleaning stuff. I mean, those guys have owned their cars forever. They've been doing this for a long time. And they still manage to find ways to, change and do crazy new things. So why not keep going? But there comes a point. There's only so many connections to a 12-volt battery.
Yeah, but there's no reason why you can't tune and customize these just like any other car. The enthusiasts, we find a way.
Definitely. So yeah, the auto present door handles were soon after SEMA because it just was something that I felt was super important for me to do. Especially with it being a daily driven car or whatever, who knows who's going to get in my car. So I really don't want you poking around my wrap and trying to open my door handle and figure it out, because that chrome wrap was the birth of my ridiculous OCD levels to skyrocket. So when I approached Hanshow with the idea, they were like, yeah, we can put those on. Let's do it. Bring it, here. And, I was lucky enough to go test out their grand opening studio in Tustin called the Test Studio. And we did some pretty cool stuff with it. And we installed these door handles. And I was just, when I got them back, it was like, oh, I had no problem opening them originally. And I'm thinking to myself, like, yeah, all of a sudden. But yeah, it's made it effortless. Like it's crazy. There's so many things. Heck, you got a refrigerator that you can plug in now.
Right. Always have a nice cold drink. It's great.
It's crazy. Totally insane. So there's really no limits to what you can do to the car. It's just how far you're willing to take it. For me, I don't really think, the air suspension is a mandatory thing for me, not just for the look at a show, but for the ride quality for me. And just that more pleasurable drive. And then maybe some few more carbon fiber goodies. And then I think after that, it'd basically just be your tiny little interior conversions. Definitely would do white interior instead of black. So
just fine tuning at that point.
Yeah, the black seats are pretty brutal.
Yeah. I wonder when there's going to be a seat cooling feature added. I love the heated seat. I wish that there was cooled seats.
Yeah, so one of the things I saw recently with my buddy Tony, his Model X Plaid, is those perforated seats that Tesla does now, and I was quite impressed with those. I didn't originally think I'd like it because of the dots everywhere, like it gives it a little different look. But because my car has some black in it and some darker accents, it kind of plays pretty well with that. But he swears by me, they're much better seats, probably a little more breathable. That breathability, is probably much better. So maybe like a custom interior instead, where I can actually have some breathability to the seat might help, little perforations and stuff.
Maybe.
But beyond that, I guess I could boost it. I know Engine X makes like a Boost 50 for my car where I can actually give it a little more horsepower and unlock some things and drift it and stuff, but I just would never drive my baby like that. She's for show, not for go. Yeah. We don't do the racing thing, so I don't know that I would need it, but I do know that for the cost of what it does for the car, gives me a little bit more access to the interior as well. Unlocks a few extra things that I think is cool. So maybe something like that. But modification wise, after that, it would just be all DIY stuff and carbon fiber.
Nice.
Yeah, maybe I'll park it on a SoFi Stadium built like grass field or something. That'll be my next showpiece. I'm gonna print out a grass field and park on like I'm parking at the stadium. Really step the game up on the football theme.
That's a fun idea.
Oh, that's insane. I already put my Gatorade Jordans in there. People call me crazy for that one, but
heck yeah, man, having fun.
But yeah, I think for that side of things, it's going to definitely require another wrap.
Okay.
As a daily driven car, like I said, not sure how crazy I'm going to go yet, but I'm not gonna won't be giving that out yet.
Okay, so we're all on the edge of our seats until
I don't know about that. There's a lot of cool wraps out there now. Let me just tell you, there's some crazy stuff. There's even another friend of mine in Southern California that's really bringing my past back with a lowrider painted theme. So look out for this Model Y because this is going to be pretty insane. So yeah, he's doing like a full lowrider paint job on this thing. I can appreciate that. That's my era. That's where I got all my passion from, was from lowriders.
That's sweet.
Absolutely love the whole theme, the vibe, everything. So I'm looking forward to that because that's gonna be maybe a small gate opener. I know Jersey M3P, he's out of I think New Jersey. He had one of the wide bodies that was at SEMA last year, and his is actually one of the first molded welded ones. that's actually handmade, not like a bought kit.
Okay.
So we're talking about something that he put a lot of pride and joy into it. And he's someone that really loves paint. So his cars are always painted, and I've always appreciated that pearl white, and then he went and did basically my gloss light blue, which you all probably know as like the Porsche Grabber blue from back in the day.
Yeah.
Well, now he went and painted his a full bright baby blue color, and it just blows me away. Like, you can appreciate the wraps, but when someone does a full paint, that's a whole nother level.
Yeah.
Because that gets pricey.
And time consuming.
Yes, weeks to months to do a full paint like that. I mean, you're talking about a full car tear down to paint.
Mm-hmm.
So with a wrap, it's take some doors off, take a front and rear bumpers off, and maybe remove some windows just to make it a little easier. But beyond that, I mean, you don't really have to headlights, taillights, that emblems. But for paint, it's like everything's coming off.
Yeah.
Interior and all.
Yeah, that I can appreciate as well. I've been thinking about wrapping mine. I am just going back and forth. I think daily I have a different, maybe this one, maybe that one. So it at least is very fun. But like you said, much lower buy-in and if you hate it, you can easily just go back.
Exactly.
Switch it up again.
It's very forgiving as well. Even if you make mistakes, I mean, you peel off a section of it and you rewrap it and you're fine again, Can you imagine like a full like paint repair, right?
Yeah.
Imagine if you have a paint job. So that paint job, if you mess that up, we're not talking about a pull off and place back on afternoon. We're talking about a few days, maybe even a week long worth of resanding, wet sanding, priming, repainting, matching, or just doing a whole new section, so it's different. It's a different level. So yeah, if I did go the paint route, it would definitely be layered with PPF and ceramic coating.
Yes, got to protect that.
Yeah, especially daily driving. There's a lot of road chips, so PPF is mandatory. So for you, if you're thinking about wrapping and you're on the fence but you're not sure, a good PPF will go a long way.
That's what I've been thinking about, man, is that I can't decide on a wrap color or pattern or texture or whatever, but I'm starting to track it more. And so I want that protection. And what I'm thinking maybe I'll do is get a really good clean and detail so that the paint is all good and corrected. It's not that bad now, but just to make sure that the clear coat is all smoothed out, then do PPF and get that ceramic coated. And that would, it's midnight silver metallic, which is a great color. And it would just make sure that it's always popping.
Also, too, if you want to add that different element without actually having to rewrap and PPFing, that like satin PPF, the satin PPF actually will change the tone of your paint and give you like a different color look to it, almost like making it like a graphite silver look, right? So that's something that can not only just change a little bit of the look to it, like a minor slight little change, but also protect it.
The satin it's not fully matte, but it's a little more matte than like a normal just clear PPF.
But you still get the PPF, so right, you're still getting that protection level, but it's more of a flat base look to a glossed paint, and it really will change that look to give you a little more definition, almost look like you changed the wrap.
That's cool. That's a good idea.
And then with the good stealth like wrap PPF like that, I mean, most of those things are lifetime warranty, so something happens, you peel it off, replace it. A lot of times those places replace them. So you're getting a little bit more bang for your buck. And I'm not getting a lifetime warranty on my wraps. But with a PPF, you're getting that warranty where if something goes wrong to it, they'll peel it off and replace it.
Ah, okay. So like different level of installation between the two.
Correct. Yeah, because most paint protection films are coming with a longer warranty. And if you really spend the money on a real good one, a lot of them are lifetime.
Interesting.
So definitely do your research. I mean, there's samples out there you can see. There's even wraps that are PPF. So there's companies like S-Tech. There's companies like GSWF Global. and even Flexus Shield. And there's a couple others out there now as well, but they're actual colored PPF wraps. So you're getting the color in one and the PPF in one wrap. That might be something you might want to be interested in too.
I didn't even know that there was a difference between a wrap and a PPF. I figured that.
No, that's two different material, buddy.
It really?
Wrap is just vinyl. A PPF is almost like, shoot, I don't want to say bulletproof, but I mean, you rub it against something like a shopping cart, you can just apply some heat to it and almost basically self-heal it. With a vinyl, if someone runs a shopping cart into it, just come look at my back driver's side door, passenger door.
No.
Yeah, it's not forgiving.
See,
with PPF, you get forgiveness in that material. It's expensive, but you're getting what you're paying for.
Got it. Oh, that is good to know. You look at pictures and it's like, well, they're both films. Like,
yep.
They just call it one a PPF and the other is colored, so they call it a wrap. But I'm filing that away. Now I know what I'm going to be doing tonight on Google.
Yeah, you're going to go crazy looking at PPFs because the game of the PPF has grown a lot over the last year. I mean, it's gotten pretty crazy. So, but yeah, PPF is something that's considered a paint protection film. So, you know, that in itself is definitely something that I've been eyeing for a while. So I've thought about doing a PPF over the chrome, but essentially really just wanted to see how long I could get this how much can I get this chrome to take, you know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like what could I do to this as a daily driven car that would almost show people like, hey, no matter what you do to a car, you know, you can undo it or you can take it to the next level and then, you know, not worry too much. But the chrome it's a little less forgiving, I will say. And it's a little more tedious in the cleaning area aspect of things. You really got to make sure you're using a really good cloth. If you are using one at all, highly recommend getting yourself a little car blow dryer. So yeah, it's a little more of a materialistic woman out there instead of a car. You know, it's someone that's, you know, as a car, you're having to dump a lot of, you know, time and patience into it because you don't want to damage it. You don't want to ruin it because it is noticeable.
Right.
Whereas like a white, some base colors like that, a tan, you know, like light blues, dark blues, things like that, you can hide a lot of blemishes with a good gloss wrap.
Mm-hmm.
But with chrome, it's a surface issue, right? Because it's literally like plastic. This chrome wrap, and it's also the reason why it's expensive to do because it's hard to wrap. It's not easy to stretch chrome without damaging it. You know, it takes a really good wrap shop and someone with a lot of patience and time, and you know, and as an owner too, right? You hold some of that because you know anytime you do something to a car and it didn't come from the manufacturer, you're taking those risks. You know, you are buying into someone that, you know, is saying I can wrap your car.
Sure.
But you know, you just don't tell someone you're going to wrap your car. Oh, by the way, I want a chrome wrap. You don't really, you know, it's like, what? Oh, no. Right. I mean, I talked to so many people that are just like, yeah, I was going to do that. Then I just said not to. Or some people will tell me, oh, I was going to do a chrome, a red chrome. And then I wised up. I was like, yeah, it's a labor of love.
An
love-hate relationship.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit more about the modification stuff that you've been doing with Mike.
So a lot of carbon fiber and a lot of low underglow.
Carbon fiber and
underglow has become quite a popular thing. And for most people, it might just be like a little dumb thing. You know, I'm sure to others it just like, oh, we're just trying to beat cars. You know, Cars, the Disney movie, you know, or whatever. And it's kind of a little clownish. Maybe it's a little 90s brought back. I don't know.
I remember it from the 90s. That way before LEDs.
But it's
before LEDs. You'd get the fluorescent, the tubes.
So, but it's graduated, man. The LED game has graduated. So ghost controlling has made things a lot easier. Teslux Innovations makes direct plug and play for Tesla owners for their headlights, their taillights, their fog lights, and now their underglow, and probably coming soon interior lighting as well. And we're talking when you can get all of these devices plugged into one app, that's quite an amazing thing to have. So if you have interior lighting, you have wheel lights, then you have underglow, then you have front or engine bay lighting, and then you have trunk lighting, then you have interior lighting. Some of these people, you end up with 5-6 apps to get your car going for a show.
Yeah.
But with a ghost lighting controller, it makes that life a lot easier because it's a standalone module that you can plug a few devices into, buy 3 to 5 ghost controllers, and you can end up with an entire car. Press one button after syncing all of them, and all of them go off and on at the same time together in a car show mode. So those things have made things a lot easier in that realm of work. But yeah, I'm fortunate enough to be really good friends with an amazing guy who also happens to have a great, family that has a shop, and, it doesn't get used too much. So, we started looking at things, and he's like, hey, look what I can get. He's like, hey, look what I can get. And the next thing I know, it's like, Mike, what can't you get? Nothing anymore. I can get it all now. And I was like, oh my gosh. So we had a really good partnership, friendship type thing with a guy from Hand Show since back before Tesla Takeover last year. And, even during Tesla Takeover, Mike actually helped out at the Hand Show booth for them as well. And, so we had already done a lot of installs in Mike's car up until that point with a lot of Hand Show products, and an awful lot with mine as well. And then leading into SEMA as well, we ended up with.
We have a brief connection issue here.
Much bigger. We found so many suppliers of products, and it's led us to a point where we try to pass a lot of the savings we find onto the fellow Tesla owner to make it possible for people that maybe didn't think they could modify their car.
That's awesome.
So yeah, we've done rear fog lights. So your rear bumper lights that are fake reflectors from Tesla. Yeah, we put real lights that are actual sequential to your blinker, interior ambient lighting, full underglow lighting, carbon fiber everywhere you want it. We can get it. Body kits, hoods, interior pieces, exterior pieces, pretty much, anything someone really thinks of, and we order it direct and schedule it. And, basically we have a place with a lift that we can do a lot of this work and a lot less hassle on, our old bodies. Because, we're not young guys. I mean, Mike's been doing modification on cars since the 80s. He's had mini trucks, lowriders, street bikes, full-size trucks, hot rods, classics, and the Tesla thing is just immediate, just came natural to him, because he's already been doing this for so long. And that's why it clicked so well with me and him, because I grew up in a lot of that era along with things that he's already been doing.
Yeah.
So it's just easy to talk to him. Shop talk is just a blast with me and Mike. So, it almost makes it just like a little fun side thing to do. And, it's cool to see the people's faces like, man, I didn't think I'd ever own any of this, but now look at my car.
That's a good feeling.
Oh yeah, especially, knowing that they work hard for their money. And, like I said, we're not greedy war criminals here. We're not trying to, buy an island or anything, off profits of car stuff. But, we are trying to have fun, give someone an opportunity to do something they didn't think they could, and to a car that most people call them crazy for even buying. And now a lot of them have their own personality in them, and it's cool to see.
That is really cool. So plans for you, are you going to go to SEMA again this year? Is that happening?
It is happening.
Yeah. Congrats, man. That's amazing.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Yeah. We're going to try to bring some friends along. I have too many. Most people may tell you, but these aren't just Tesla owners. I assure you of that.
No such thing as too many friends, man.
Well, there is. You definitely want a good circle of influence. Don't forget that, everybody, especially the kids out there. Make sure to keep your circle good.
We didn't say good friends, right?
No, we're going to try to grow. Why not? Right? Like I told the director that I went with, and he told me, he says the feedback's good. He says we may be able to increase this maybe we can get a few extra cars in this year and some cool concept of like some crazy conversions. There's a lot coming out. There's a lot of cool conversions I'm really looking forward to seeing because, like I told you, I mean, my roots are all the way back to a 52 Bel Air, so there's nothing you can't surprise me with.
There is a lot of really cool conversions coming out.
Yeah, the white caddy at Holly High Voltage was one of my, that was just a unicorn of a car, considering that they not just converted it, but they did it in a way that it was almost subtle. You thought there was a motor there.
Right.
Like a
Legacy
engine,
EV.
I mean. Yeah, but it's an EV, and that thing is beautiful.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to this year because now I think people are realizing, hey, well, let me try to have some fun with this. And there are a lot of wrecked Teslas out there that need a new life, right? Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? It's just a dead car sitting there with a perfectly good motor and perfectly good battery pack. Why not give it to another car that wants a new life? I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm a huge believer in wreckage and, wrecking yard builds and people that take a car from nothing and turn it into a gem. So why not?
One of my episodes a couple weeks ago was Evolve Racing.
Yeah.
I actually went to their spot and saw the donor vehicle. He still has it there. It had been a full rollover. The guy walked away fine, but the car was just absolutely totaled. The roof crushed in, airbags deployed, but he gutted that. And now it's racing in an S10 pickup that's lifted and custom everything you can imagine. It's really cool.
It's awesome. It is. And these are the people that, these are the kind of people that I grew up watching and doing these things to crazy cars. And now they're getting their hands on 1,000 horsepower electric motors, So, I mean, you start seeing some of these plaids in a wreckage yard. I would look out because this next 2 years, these people are going to be putting these plaid motors into some crazy, ridiculous light bodies. And you're going to be seeing 7, 8, 9-second cars going down quarter miles and then going and getting groceries.
I love that. This is the world I want to live in.
Yeah, right? It's crazy. It's crazy. And if they keep into the technology and actually utilize some of that to their benefit, I mean, why not, right?
Heck yeah.
Less brake problems. I mean, not alone. I'm a heavy braker. So, I'm pretty heavy on the foot, especially in traffic. And that kind of stuff is brutal. And people don't realize what one foot pedaling, and it's just, or in most cases, 0 foot pedaling when you're in traffic. I absolutely don't do anything but just have my index finger on the bottom of my steering wheel.
Yep.
And a commute is tolerable, right? You're not sore. You're not getting out. Your knees are cramped up because you've been going gas brake, gas brake, gas brake, gas brake, right?
Totally.
To not sound too redundant, I mean, that doesn't seem like much, but it's a lot.
It adds up
doing it every day for 2 hours a day.
Yeah.
And I get so many people that look at me and want me to roll my window down and like, hey, is that car driving itself? I was like, yeah, I wouldn't do this any other way. Sorry. I don't mean to sound rude, but they're like, no, that's awesome, right? Like, oh my God, you're so lucky. I'm like, I know, and like to think pretty soon all these construction workers are going to be able to do this. These people that get up at 2, 3 in the morning to drive 3 hours, to work 8, and then to drive 2 to 3 more hours to get home. Please do me a favor out there, all you mathematicians, and add that up. How many hours do some of these people have left in a day? And it's spent away from their families. And it might sound crazy to people, but these cars and trucks that are coming on these freeways, they're going to make these people's lives much better. It is a large amount of anxiety and stress that comes off your body knowing that your car is going to stop for you to the car in front of you every 2 seconds because you're in bumper-to-bumper traffic. I don't have to not pay attention to the road or fall asleep here, you guys and girls. That's not what I'm doing. What I'm doing is I'm relaxing and I'm watching the road with my hand on the wheel. I'm not stressed about having to stop and go and be cut off or be yelled at, because if someone cuts in front of me, my car just slows down and more.
Yeah.
And these trucks are going to do this. The
Quality of life.
Cybertrucks, the Rivians, the Lightnings, and all the other trucks coming after that. They're not going to stop. The Chevy's doing it. The GMC's going to do it. Who knows if Cadillac makes a truck again? I mean, it's not going to stop, right? Toyota, maybe they might take a little longer. I don't know what they're doing with this whole hybrid thing, but
we don't know what they're doing.
Hydrogen, sorry. Like after that, the SUVs have already almost all gone electric.
Yeah.
There is a Jeep Wrangler that is electric. Like, that's just like,
you say it right there. Quality of life. That's big.
And it is, man.
The performance as well. I mean, it's like being on rails. So you get better driving experience and you have a crazy acceleration and performance. If that's what you're into, it's kind of a win-win.
Agreed. And on top of all those things, that it goes as far as someone behind you, right, Dan? Like, I noticed the other day I'm driving home and I'm in traffic and just out of nowhere my car just jerks forward. And I'd still have the same distance behind me. I mean, in front of me. And I'm like, what the heck? And I looked because I drive with my camera on my screen. I don't know how many other people do this, but this is game changing. Like, I get to watch the side of my car, the back of my car, and the front of my car the whole time I'm driving. So I look in my camera as soon as I feel this, and there's a car that definitely probably would have rear-ended me.
Wow.
And the car didn't let it.
Got out of the way.
So, it's just, when I talk about the sleep and the amount of work and the amount of commuting out of some of these, construction workers and, people that work in the labor field or the self-help field that have to drive far to go do these things. It's also in terms of that safety feature, right? These people do get tired. And sometimes that irritability leads to road rage. Sometimes that tire leads to falling asleep. And those things we can't quantify into what electric cars are bringing to the world that we're living in, but you have to give credit to them for this. Because the regular internal combustion engine vehicle did not develop a self-driving car that avoided accidents first. It took the technology and the mindset of someone that said, hey, I want to take the gasoline car that we've known since the Stone Ages, and I want to make it powered by the sun, basically, in essence, right? I want electricity to power this entire car. He was called crazy for how many years? And now everyone wants to build them. And it's not just because it drives itself. That isn't even the biggest factor of this car. It's the safety. I know what goes into the work of these Teslas. I definitely 100% know. And I can assure everybody out there that has a question about Tesla's safety, the videos, the evidence, it's not fake. It's not falsified that a man purposely, unfortunately, and I'm really sorry, drove off a cliff that no one else would have survived in, and the entire family survived. That's not made up media, right? That's a car that was built with 100% no corners cut. So maybe the electric door is a little off. Maybe the door sill looks like it's a little crooked, or maybe there's a piece on the corner of the mirror. It's a little sideways. But I can assure you, if you're in a regular, minor, day-to-day type accident, or even a really major one, your chances of survival are worth every penny in this car's cost. Period.
That's a good way to put it, man.
It truly is. And that's why I own a Tesla. Not because I have a bunch of friends that I've made over the years because of my modded Tesla. Not because the attention my car gets because it's bright and shiny and blinds you on the freeway probably, but because it saves me and my family's life, and I know it. 100%.
So I love that. And that's it's a really good way, and something that no one has really brought up yet. It's a good way to think about it. And that's wonderful. One more question.
Because of their battery pack, right? It's going to be the same for the Ford Lightning. The battery pack takes up so much of the entire car surface, or the entire vehicle. See, I can't even say car anymore because they're SUVs and trucks now. So the entire framing of this vehicle that is being made electric, it's just built on an entirely different foundation, or what most would call a skateboard.
Right.
Because it's essentially what it looks like. When you look at the bottom of a Tesla or any electric vehicle, it's mind-blowing how flat it is down there and there's nothing there, right? They're less likely to blow up. Yes, that's right. Don't believe everything you read. These cars don't blow up very easily. And if they do, it's a serious impact that even a gas car would have blown up in.
Right.
So it's different. So when these manufacturer companies start to realize this and they start to build these, they realize there's a factor to this. Like when you start to think of Koenigsegg, Lamborghini, Ferrari, Corvette, these are all companies that are currently building these. Don't forget that. This isn't going anywhere. It's going to triple in the amount of cars over the next 5 years, if not more, that are going to be electric, or at least a portion of their vehicle train be electric driven. The hybrids are only going to get more. And we're going to be seeing these out of cars that normally would probably shred into pieces in a vehicle accident. But they're going to be stronger now. Right. Internally for these people that are driving them. Porsches, there's going to be a different foundation to the way this car crashes now. And that's where the side of the electric car is why it has my full support, because of that reason. Like, I know if there's an accident involved, this car's frame and all of its standard points of what needs to not break to save someone's life, it will do it.
That's the paradigm shift.
It is.
The engineering that allowed for a
Correct.
change in the body dynamics.
Yeah. Because it just takes someone. It takes a certain someone, Dan, to say, hey, I'm gonna turn this car into an electric car. And that mindset doesn't stop after the batteries are built. Well, wait a minute, this isn't even gonna protect someone. That mindset is going to continue all the way through the whole car. Now we're not just engineering an electric car, we're engineering how to make the entire car better.
Yeah.
So that's when that shift happened, is because brilliant people, not just a company, brilliant people got involved in the car. And these people getting smarter, and they're building better. Because at the end of the day, it's the mindset. It's been shifted because he was told this couldn't be done. Now everyone wants to do it. And the coolest part about all of that is he says, please come, help me. Take my profits from me. I don't care. Build with me. That's just insane to think. There's no greed there.
We're living in a pretty exciting time here.
It is cool.
Yeah, I love it.
It's cool to watch Jay Leno get really excited about this too, because that's a guy that you should probably look at, because that's a guy that has every car from the beginning of time in his garage right now. So if he loves these, there's a reason. Where that guy gets under his car. He works on his cars. Believe that man is a car freak. Or fanatic, you might want to say. But
sure,
if that man believes in it and he thinks the combustion engine is dead, that's not what the electric car was birthed for. It's not like we're running around saying, no, it's not what we want. We just want people to know that there's other ways to do things in life, and that electric car is what changed that. Like, you can now say to yourself, oh, well, I don't just need a car. I can have a truck, an SUV, or this, that. It could be anything. No, sure. Well, we'll show you can do it to a semi too. So it's that limitless boundary of the brain that says, hey, if that can be done, what else can we do? So it trickles now. That mindset is a trickling effect into our whole entire way of living now.
What's your advice for people who are like super stoked on this and are looking to do it themselves, whether it's getting an electric car or doing a mod or just being involved with this change in mindset of being like, hey, let's just do things better? What's your advice for folks who are feeling that?
Well, I think for the most part, when you're looking at this space of where the car industry as a whole is going, like, if you see something like a Volkswagen bus, right? Like that's an iconic car. You don't have to love it, but that is an iconic vehicle. No
For
matter how old
sure.
you are, you know what a 23 window bus is, right? Like
Oh yeah.
those being converted was an accident. Those being built is no accident. Volkswagen understands they're a very big mindset in this. Like, I can take an iconic car and make it better, but not just make it better, I can make it have that value still, like that look. Like, it still holds its overall look. It's just more defined into tomorrow's look of a vehicle. But Volkswagen, they're doing remarkable things with their vehicles, and that's a company you wouldn't normally think would have been so quick.
Mm-hmm.
So in the realm of like what I think you should or should not look into, I mean, do your research, of course. If you're someone that doesn't drive very much and you have a home and you know how to, wire your own electricity and you could put your own charger in the side of your house and, you have solar on your roof, but you just don't want an electric car, I say try one. Especially if you're in a state that does those crazy things that like letting you drive a test drive and take it home and take it grocery shopping. Like in California, you don't get to test drive a car for a week. Like, but there's states in our country where you can take it for 24, 48 hours and test it out. I don't know that you're going to get that same feeling or that same treatment as far as at a Tesla dealership, but something like a Volkswagen or a Hyundai or anything, a Kia, a Ford, any car that's even hybrid, Camry, Accord, you feel a difference in the way the car is made. It's just different. There's a technological advancement to the vehicle when you add electric to it, because there's someone behind that car that has that limitless potential mindset. They had to have said, oh yeah, let me do this, boss. I could do this. And, oh yeah, let me go hire a couple more of them. Or let me look at this as an aspect of what other car could we do? And GM was one. They said, hey, well, we're just going to build a frame and we'll stick every car we make on it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, wait, what? That's possible.
Yeah.
Right?
It is
Who
now.
knows? Do that, right? But on the flip side of that mindset switch, it's not so crazy to think that the hybrid is so far off from the electric car. But if you have a home with the capabilities of being able to charge your car and you drive like a typical person, 10, 15,000 miles a year, 5,000 miles a year, I wouldn't own any other car but an electric car. But if you're someone that daily drives 100 to 200 miles a day and you live in an apartment, probably not the wisest decision financially yet at this time, right? Because you're charging on the road a lot. Unless you're buying a long range dual motor vehicle that's getting you 300 miles to a charge, then you're good because you're still driving less than 300 miles in that day, right? You can get home to charge. But if you're not having the ability to charge at home and you're having to rely on the outside network infrastructure without supercharging every day, I mean, those trips to the charger become 4 to 8 hours long. There's people that leave their cars on those chargers and go have their families pick them up, and they go home and do other things while their car charges for 48 hours. That's okay. If you can do that, great. But if you're someone that's skeptical on going electric, you definitely want to have the ability to charge at home. That would be my first thing. As for modifications go, never, ever, ever expect perfection. In a modification world, everything is made from something. And as that time goes on, that something becomes less of a better quality of a design factor to say, hey, this is going to go on the side of this car, or this is going to go on your center console. That fitment isn't always going to be perfect. Especially if you're dealing in the carbon fiber world, that's something that in most cases is handmade from a mold. There's probably maybe not 2-3 pieces the same.
Interesting.
No matter what. When you look at a real carbon fiber body kit, you know, because you could park two of the same cars next to each other and they would both look different. That's how you know you have true real carbon fiber, because it is very hard to identify a real carbon fiber piece and it being the same as the one next to it, because the weaves are never placed in the same spot when you make them. So in that aspect of things, expect things to not be perfect. Don't expect your car to sound or drive the same if you now have wider, bigger wheels, thinner tires, and you've taken the doors apart to put ambient lighting in. You're gonna have some air noise now. You took apart the car, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So have the aspects of, that things may not be the same after you modify a vehicle. That's the first thing you have to accept, because there's no two modified cars that are identical no matter what they put on them. We could all put the same stuff on our cars, but they're not all installed the same. Everyone has a different way to do things. And a lot of other products out there that are so different from each other and do different things to the way the look of the car is. And that's the greatest part about modifying a car, is because I can take the same company with a different kit and just add my own piece to it and change the entire look. Like, I could take a carbon fiber body kit and wrap or paint parts of it and expose pieces of carbon instead of having the whole thing carbon. Does that mean that mine looks the same as the one next to it, even though they are? No, right? It's going to change the entire look of the vehicle, but using the same part as the person next to you. That's that thing, that paradigm that you say, oh, whoa, it is limitless. There's nothing you can't do.
Yeah.
In terms of that. But just expect the fact that, things go wrong in those processes. Things are not always perfect, right? Especially when you take apart the car's suspension and you take apart the entire car's interior. Clips don't snap in the same. They've already been removed out of their slot. They've already been pulled out of their home. So
you end up with something really unique, and that is cool. Yeah,
it is. It's fun, and it could be something very minor. If I say anything in this world that you would do to your Tesla right now, swivel screen. It's a 30-minute modification, an hour at worst. And it is probably my favorite part of my interior now, because I can move that screen to me and I can have that different angle of view on things as a driver.
That's cool.
I can have someone in my passenger seat and not have to worry about what I'm doing, because they can turn it to them and they can focus on that. Yeah. I'll just drive, right? They can do the music. They can do the navigation. They can add the charging stops. They can do the food locations, so that would be the first thing I'd start with, because there is absolutely nothing you do to your warranty by adding a swivel mount. It is just a bracket.
Sure.
That's all it is. It's a very quick, easy modification that anyone can truly do in their own home. And that would be something that I would say, not even call that a modification. I'd almost want to say that should have been a requirement out of the dealership to be able to move your screen left to right. Like, that's just a cool thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, there is a cool factor to it too. When someone walks up and looks in your interior and the screen's facing them, it's an immediate to them. It's like, oh my God, this is a Tesla. Their screens don't move. How did he do that?
Heck yeah.
So yeah, but that would be my start.
Okay.
I would definitely. And if you don't have an auto frunk or auto trunk, that would be the next one. The trunk thing is really about driving me nuts. I've lasted 2 years and it's time.
Yeah.
The auto trunk is definitely something I'm going to do, as well as the frunk.
For SEMA 2023.
Yeah, that'll be the minor things there. SEMA 23, we're gonna really do some stuff to her.
I can't wait.
Are you coming?
I'd like to.
You should go.
It's on my goal list.
If nothing else, come for the last 2 days for SEMA Fest. It's all open to public.
Okay. Nice.
You don't go inside the walls of, where all the crazy cars were that week, but you could find some people leaving early and they could hand you the badge. I don't know, but at very least, the SEMA Fest on the 3rd and the 4th is definitely something I would highly recommend if you can get to Vegas for the 3rd and the 4th of November. This is their first year doing this. I mean, we're talking all out, everything you could think of. If you're in my area, anywhere from born in the early 70s to the early 80s, this SEMA is going to have everything you remember as a kid. We're talking full-on extreme dirt bike jumps, tracks, racing, drifting, peeling out, just insanity. And on top of that, a car show. So it's going to be pretty cool. I'm very excited for this one.
Well, I'm sold. I think that I was doing a little research. I think that I might be able to be, like a media pass because of the podcast and the brand.
Definitely.
And all of that. So it's on my calendar. I haven't signed up yet, but that's kind of that's my goal, my thought process. And I know so many people like you.
We'll talk later about that. Maybe I can kind of help with that roadmap for you.
Awesome. Well,
see what I can do.
Let's talk about that. And
yeah, because you definitely, if we're gonna get a SEMA electrified double its size, it's definitely something you're gonna want to cover.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you're gonna want to bring all the bells and whistles, mics, cameras, action.
I got it. We're sitting on it right here.
There you go. So yeah, it's the Gold Ultra EV in SoCal. That's another one in June at the Irwindale Speedway. That's pretty epic to have an all.
We have another brief connection issue right now.
So the Gold Ultra EV show will be massive. And then also in May, there's an Electrify Expo show off. And June, they're going to do one. The one in May is in Long Beach. And in June, there'll be one in San Francisco. That's all electric. So that's pretty cool, too.
Sweet.
I mean, they're everywhere now. And what's cool is, I mean, we have bikes, motorcycles, mopeds, cars, trucks, SUVs. Who knows what else is going to become electric out there? Who knows? I don't know. But, I mean, to have an all-EV expo like that, it's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah.
It just goes to show you how far it's come in the last couple of years.
I think we're still on the front end of it all.
Oh, most definitely. We're definitely at the beginning stages of this, 100%. It's only going to get, I mean, you're still going to have those people, right? That, I've never drive an electric car. It's soulless, or it's, it's this, or it's that. And, all of those things are going to get put to rest as range gets better, batteries get better, motors last longer, right? So all of that stuff's going to only improve. So it's only a matter of time to where a car will go 600 miles on a single charge, and people are going to be, this is going to be a thought of the past.
Yeah.
Range anxiety will be like, what? There was a thing? At one point, you couldn't just drive wherever you wanted and make it back home? No, I never heard of that. And when we get to that part, that's the exciting part for me.
Yeah.
You could go from San Francisco to LA and, have a destination charger where you stop at a bed and breakfast or a, whatever hotel you sleep at, and then get home and plug it in at home, and you didn't stop at all. That's when I think that switch occurs where a lot of people tend to, okay, I'm going to grab one of these now. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think the Semi taught us that. I think the Semi may teach us that time is already here, because if it can do all of that with the size of that car, what can that same technology do with a smaller car? Well, so you have to kind of think
that mathematician back.
See, that's already here, man. That technology has already allowed a semi truck to get on a freeway with a full 18,000 pound load and not stop the freeway.
Yep.
Right. That semi is allowed to let off its throttle and not have to slam on its brakes or spin its back end of a trailer out or use its engine brake, because it's got a degenerative braking system now.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're now stopping 20 something thousand pounds just using a reverse motor, what could that motor do in a car?
Probably going to run a pretty good time at the drag strip.
You're no kidding, buddy. So yeah. So those are the semi is definitely got me very, very excited for the next 5 years, to say the least. And I'm sure the Cybertruck is going to only push that envelope so much more further open.
I'm excited for that one too.
And then the Roadster. When Roadster 2.0 hits, I'm pretty sure that'll be the time where you can say, okay, not only can we build a $25,000 electric car that still puts you back in your chair, we can build a sports car that 5 people can fit in and drive 0 to 60 in 1.5 seconds and get you to LA and halfway back home. That's crazy.
We're just waiting here, excited for all of this.
So
it'll happen.
I say if you're in a position in the next 2 to 5 years and you see these EV tax credits now, I don't know if you wait. That's just crazy because we don't know how long that whole process becomes a point where it's like, well, now you're getting charged more to buy a gas car because of the emission tax.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So at what point does that say, well, we're not going to give you guys no EV credits no more? Right. So you see that trend kind of starting, and then you see it kind of come back, and you wonder when that teeter-totter just essentially almost just flattens out and says, oh yeah, no, you're not getting no credit for that no more. Everyone has an electric car.
Right. It'll happen.
So yeah, and do you want to be on the front end of the back end of that moment, right? So you want to think about a lot of things when you're looking at buying your next vehicle in the next 2 years. If you're in the market in the next 2 to 5 years to buy a car, an electric car vehicle, EUV, whatever you want to call it, should be on your list of pros and cons, right? You should at least think about it.
Well, with that, thank you, Matt. I appreciate you so much.
No, you bet, man. It's a pleasure, Dan. I'm a big fan of yours. I appreciate all you do for our community, and I know you're out there pulling the miles and running the tape and killing it with the editing, and I know that all takes time. So don't think that this stuff just happens overnight. And this guy spends a couple minutes a day covering EVs. I mean, you're hard at it, man, and we appreciate you.
Hey, man, thank you.
Yeah,
it is my pleasure. So much fun. I'm just having a ton of fun it's like it's all happening right now, and there's this great community and people are excited, and it's like living in the moment as some cool stuff is happening. Gosh, it's fun.
It is, man, and it's not just a Tesla family thing. I mean, when I tell you that, I mean, a lot of these Tesla owners, we get real close, but we love all of them, man. Like, we hang out with Rivian owners, we hang out with Lightning owners. Like, these cars are awesome to look at. They are really fun to ride in. The Rivian is just a really cool looking truck. The Ford Lightning is an awesome truck, and I'm just excited as more and more of these things come out. It's because, I grew up where you're drawing a future car, and today it's like the future car is already here.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy. So hold on to your seats and look forward to the next couple of years, because it's going to go quick and more cars are going to be made, and it's going to be fun.
Hold on to your seats, folks.